So friends, finally here we are to assemble all the components of our computer system, to assemble all the components and to design our computer system. So very first component, that's motherboard. So it's time to place the motherboard at its proper place. So it is fitted properly and it's time to fit the bolts of the motherboard. So friends, the motherboard has been fitted at its proper place. Now it's time to provide the power supply to our motherboard. So the power supply that's come from our SMPS, that is switch mode power supply. But our motherboard required DC power supply, but SMPS has AC power supply. The main purpose of our SMPS is used to convert AC power supply to DC power supply, which is required by all the components of our motherboard. So the power supply is provided by main power cable. So fit this power cable to its proper place. Now it's time to insert the fan, which is the heatsink fan, which should be placed at the proper place above our microprocessor cabinet. As you look here, it has thermistor which absorbs the heat which is generated by microprocessor, and this fan it is used to distribute this heat uniformly outside our cabinet system. Now insert it at a proper place on motherboard. And fix this proper slot at its expansion. The front panel of our cabinet system has USB port, whose back end is a cable wire which should be connected to motherboard at its proper expansion slot. As you observe here, the name has USB, which should be properly matched with the USB written on your motherboard. The next is your audio wire from the front panel of your cabinet system. It should be inserted at a proper place on your motherboard. As you look here, there is written audio. The same thing is written on your motherboard. So fix this wire on the motherboard. Now it's time to connect your SATA and IDE wire. This is your SATA wire. It has two ends. The one end should be connected on motherboard and another end should be connected to your hard disk. So shortly we will see how to insert this pin in your hard disk. This is your IDE wire, that is integrated device equipment wire. It has two ends. One end should be connected to your motherboard and another should be connected to your CD-ROM. Look at this knob. This knob is the proper way to insert this wire into your motherboard. keep this knob on one side of your finger and insert it properly on your motherboard. You will look how it is inserted into your CD-ROM. On motherboard, we are having PCI expansion slots, PCI slot 1, PCI slot 2. Here we have an LAN connection card. This card should be inserted at a proper PCI expansion slot. And this is for your graphics card. The next component which should be inserted in your cabinet system, that is hard disk, also called hard drive. It should be inserted from the open end of your cabinet system. But the mistake should not be committed that the wire connection should be connected in opposite side, which you look here. It should be in back panel of your hard disk. This is the one end of your SATA cable, which should be connected to your hard disk. Our hard disk also require its power supply, which is provided by power supply from SMPS. This pin provides the power supply to our hard disk. Now it's time to insert the another important component, that is CD drive, that is CD-ROM. But it should be inserted from outside of our cabinet system. Our CD-ROM also required a power supply. The one end of your ATA cable, that is IDE cable, should be connected to your CD-ROM. The same thing should be remembered, that is one knob which should be kept on one side of your finger and should be inserted properly. The another remaining wire, that is this power supply to your SMPS. From SMPS to the motherboard, which provide the power supply to your VGA cable, which is on the one corner of your heatsink fan. So this completes the assembling of all the components of our cabinet system. So the final task is to close the door of our cabinet system.